So hi all, welcome to this video lecture. In this video lecture we will see what is the difference between first non-blank value versus top n. So what is first non-blank value? It returns the first value in a column filtered by the current context. This is the basic syntax. First non-blank, inside this you can pass in the column or an expression. The column from which the first non-blank value is returned. It can also be a table. We will discuss this one. Then in expression, an expression evaluated over the same row context. If a table, then it is a column. Okay. Let us talk about what is top n. It returns the top n rows of a table based on a specified expression. This is the basic syntax of top n, where we pass in the n underscore value. So how many top n values we want? We want top 10, top 20. So we pass that value over there. Then we return then we pass on the table over here, or in the order by expression. We will actually have that expression on basis of which we will be ordering it, and order over here will refer to in which order do you want to sort this one, right? Whether in descending order, whether in ascending order. Okay, so if you want to perform sorting techniques, then top n is the only function which is available. Okay, so for example, it is top 5 products by sale or top n products by sale. For those cases, we can use the top n. Now, which functions go along with these two functions? First non-blank function can be used with calculate or filter. Top n function is generally used with select columns or add columns, but it can also be used with calculated or filter, which we will see. Okay. In this summary, first non-blank value, it retrieves the first meaningful value. First meaningful value means the first non-blank value, as the name indicates. Top n value, top n function, it is used for ranking and returning the top subsets. Okay, so let us go to Power BI and let's see this in practical. So in our case, we have the Walmart sales table. Okay, and we have a table which we have created. If I go to the table view, okay, so this is the Walmart sales table, right? And in the table, if you go ahead, you will see that I have created this table for this purpose, demo purpose. So in this with the store ID, we have this column temp which is present, and the column temp has a lot of like 8 null values over here, only 2 values which we have. So we want to return the first non-blank value, that is 1005. So let us go ahead and let us see how we can do that. So what we will do, we will create a measure. And in this measure, I am going to simply say that first non-blank, and within this I can pass the table. Now here it says column name, okay, but in reality, if you go ahead and work with Power BI, right, you can also pass the table as well inside this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pass in the table over here, and within the expression, if you are passing in a table, then this expression should be a column. Okay, so and within the expression, I will be going ahead and I will be passing in the column temp. And the reason why I will be passing in the column temp, because it is having the blank values, and I want to return the first non-blank value from the column temp. Correct. So I will go ahead and I will hit on enter. If I hit on enter in this case, right, it will return me an error because first non-blank value, it's a table, right? If I go ahead and hit on enter, you see it will give me an error. The expression refers to multiple columns. Okay, so how I can actually retrieve this column temp value, the first non-blank value, I will use the iterator function maxx, and using this is a table, and from here, which value I want to fetch? I want to fetch the column temp value. Okay, now if I go ahead and if I hit on enter, you will, and if I bring out one card, let me go ahead and let me place this. You see, we will get 1005 over here. In case you want to get the store ID, you can also get that. You just have to replace the column temp from this with the store ID over here, and you will get this as 5. If you want instead of the first non-blank value, if you want the last non-blank value, you can also do that. Last non-blank value, what it will do, it will go ahead and it will give you the last non-blank value that we have, right? That is store ID 6. Right, it is giving you this. So it is from the reverse direction, from the bottom up approach, right? So this is about the first non-blank value and the last non-blank value, right? But if you just go ahead and look at the table, right, this table over here, this is a simple table, right? the store ID is a primary key and it is properly sorted, correct? So that's why you are getting this particular value so easily. But let's go to the Walmart sales table. In the Walmart sales table, right, the store IDs, they are not properly ordered, right? They're not properly ordered. And also the dates are also not properly ordered, okay? And store ID or the dates, both of them, they are not the primary key. The combination of store ID and the date is actually the primary key, okay? So in this Walmart sales table, right, because nothing was properly ordered, so what I did, I created a column known as column key, okay? This is a DAX calculated column that I have created, okay? This was not part of the Walmart sales table. If you can just see over here, right, these two symbols, it indicates that these two are DAX calculated columns, okay? So these two columns which are present, right, these two columns, they are DAX calculated columns, and this is now a unique column that I have created based on the store ID and the year, that is the dates combined, okay? And I have also created this column value which is there for the sake of this demo, right, because I wanted to go ahead and get some blank values. So what I did, that if the weekly sales is less than 1.85 million, right, so I'm going ahead and I'm getting the weekly sales. If it is more than 1.85 million, so I'm fetching the blank values, okay? So if you go ahead and if you look at it, right, there are many blank values which are present, okay? There are many blank values which are present over here. So let us go ahead and let us see this in action, okay? How we will get the first non-blank value. Now if it turns out, you will see, okay, let me go ahead and let me create one measure, and in this measure I will say first non-blank, okay, and this will be first, okay, first non-blank. And here what I will do, I will go ahead and I will say first non-blank. Within this I will pass in the Walmart sales table, and here I will pass the column value, okay? And what I will do, I will use the max function, just the same thing as I did previously, okay, max x function, and I will go ahead and I will pass in the column value, correct? Just the same thing that I did for this particular table, right? Now if I go ahead and if I hit on enter, and let me also bring one more card. In this card I will go ahead and pass in this value. You see this is giving me 1.61 million. Let me go ahead and format this a little, okay? Let me display this unit as none, and let me bring down the decimal to 0, okay? So this is the value that I am getting, 1611970. If I go to the table, right, this is not the first non-blank that I am having, correct? This is not the first non-blank, it is 1453330, right? It is not giving me this value. So it turns out that if you take this entire table into account, right, then internally Power BI, it randomly tries to do its calculation, okay? So in order to avoid this from happening, right, what we want to do is, we will go ahead and we will select some of the columns from this particular table, and then we will do the same thing as we did right now for the first non-blank, right? So what are the columns that we want to pick? So you see, right now what Power BI is doing is that it is trying to go ahead and it is picking the columns randomly from these, but this entire table, right? But if I select some of the columns from this particular table, right, then it will work fine. So which columns we will pick? We will pick the column key, because this is now the newly created primary key. I will be picking this one. I will be picking the store ID because we want the store ID, and I will be picking the column values because it has the blank values, and from here only we will get the first non-blank value, correct? So these three columns which we actually require, okay? So what I will do, I will go to the measure first and I will remove this, and in order for us to select some of the columns from this particular table, we will take the help of a function which we call as selected columns, Okay, and from the selected columns we will pass in this Walmart sales table. In the name I will go ahead and I will first pass in the name of the key, okay, the primary key that I have created. Okay, and always remember this, the first column that you will be passing should be the primary key in selected columns. Okay, so here I will be going ahead and I will be saying that the new value is key, comma, the expression will be column key, then I will be passing in the store ID, and this one will be the store, and I will be passing in the value over here. This will be the column value. If you want to know more about select columns, then I have already created a separate video about it. You can find that you can find the link at the top. Okay, you can go ahead and watch that video. So this is what I created for the selected columns, and let me store this in a table. So I will create a variable tabl equals to this. Okay, and then I will go ahead and I will use return. Then I will do the same thing as I did earlier, first non-blank, and instead of passing in the entire Walmart sales table, I will pass in this variable, the virtual table that I just created. And in the expression I will go ahead and I will pass in this value, because this value is the one which we want to find the first non-blank value from, correct? And then I will go ahead and I will use the maxx function and I will fetch the values from here. Okay, if I go ahead and now if I run this, you see this is giving me the proper value. See, because here I have specified that what is my primary key. The first column that you will specify over here in selected column should be your primary key. So here I have specified that this is my primary key, that is the column key. Okay, and that's why it is giving me this value. Now for example, if I go ahead and if I take one external slicer, let's say, okay, and if I pass in the store value over here, okay, let me go ahead and let me change this to drop down or vertical list, and let's say this is for store ID 1, right? If I go ahead and change this for store ID 2, it will give me 1827. Now if I go to this table, right, and if I check it for, if I put this filter on store ID 2, let's put this filter for store ID 2. You see this is the first non-blank value that I have, 1827440. If in this column value, right, if I go ahead and if I change this to let's say 1800 over here, right, then this value will be removed from here and the first non-blank value in this case will be 1750200, right? If I hit on enter, see this is gone. This is supposed to be my first non-blank value for this particular store ID. So this value should be coming in. You will see this, that if you use the entire table, right, you will not get this. But if you use the selected columns, right, then Power BI will be able to know that okay, this is my primary key, and on the basis of this only I need to go ahead and find the first non-blank value. I did a lot of research on this, okay, and it turns out that it has something to do with the Vertipack engine, okay, the way how it internally calculates. So because of that only this is happening. Okay, so this is one of the ways how you can go ahead and how you can go ahead and use this one. Okay, there is one more way how we can go ahead and get the same value, but before that let us go ahead and let us see the TOPN function. Okay, so we are done with the first non-blank value. Okay, I hope you have understood till this part. Okay, so let us go ahead and let us look at the TOPN values. TOPN values, it is generally used for sorting purposes. Okay, so let me go to this DAX editor. Okay, let me remove this one, and now what I actually want is, right, let me go first to the report view. Let me create a table, and in this table, right, I will go ahead and place the dates. From the dates I will keep only the year. I will place the store ID here. Let me remove this. I will place the store ID here, and I will place the weekly sales, and in the weekly sales I will only get the maximum weekly sales. Okay, So here we have the maximum weekly sales, right? Now what I really want is I want to find out the the store ID which is having the maximum weekly sales, right? The store ID which is having the highest weekly sales. So how will I do it? If you look at this, right, the store ID which is having the highest weekly sales is store ID 14. Okay, so how will I go ahead and I will find out the the store ID which is having the maximum weekly sales. So let us go to the DAX and let us see this. Okay, I will use the top n function, and in the top n function I will give the n value as 1 because I want a top 1 value. In the table I will pass in the Walmart sales table in the order by expression. Now since we want to find it out on the basis of weekly sales, the highest weekly sales, right? So I will go ahead and I will say the weekly sales over here, and the order, it should be descending order. Okay, if I go ahead and if I do this, you see it will give me this entire table. Now top n, it will return me a table, right? So this is going to give me the the store ID, that is 14, and the weekly sales value which is over here 3818690. Okay, now let's say if I want to find out for let's say the top that's not the highest value, but I want to find out the 5th highest value. In that particular case, how we will do it? If I go ahead and if I pass in 5 over here, it will not work, because it is going to give me the top 5 values. It is going to give me a table in this case, right? So how we are going to find out the top 5 values in that particular case? So in order for you to find out the 5th highest value, right, what we will do, we will use top n on top of another top n. Okay, so we will use 2 top n's iteratively. So top n of here I will pass in 1, and this top n itself becomes the table. This is the table. Now if you look at the table, right, this table over here itself is giving me the top 5 values. Now out of this top 5 values, which is in descending order, if I go ahead and fetch the top 1 value out of this top 5, but this time not in descending, because descending means what? Descending means the highest value is actually at the top, and the value which is the lowest is actually at the bottom, correct? Now on top of this top n, if I want to find the 5th highest value, then obviously the 5th highest value will be actually at the bottom, right? Then what I will do, I will find the top 1 value from this table, right, and I will find the weekly sales only, but this time the ordering will be in ascending. If I do this, I will get the 5th highest value, correct? You see, this is the 5th highest value, and this is the store ID for that, correct? So let us go ahead and let us see this in DAX. So what we will do, we will first copy this, and I will create a measure. In this measure, I will go ahead and I will pass on this, and this is going to give me the 5th highest value, right? And now what I will do, I will go ahead and I will use the iterator function. It's a maxx, and from here I will go ahead and fetch, let's say I want to get the store ID, right? The store ID for which this is having which is having the 5th highest value. So if I go ahead and if I hit on this, and let me bring out one card, and let me pass this measure to here. See, this is 13. So this was giving me the value of 13 over here, and this is giving me the value of 13 here as well. If I want to find it for, let's say, top 10, I can easily go ahead and find it out. For that, it will be store ID 2 is having the 10th highest weekly sales, and if I want to find it out for 1, then it is store ID 14. Okay, it is store ID 14. Now if I obviously, and the beauty of this one is that you see in this particular table, right, in this particular table we want to find out, let's say we want to find out the weekly sales, the maximum weekly sales for every year. So every year, in the sense, I want to find out which particular store has given me the highest weekly sales for the year 2010. So how we will do that? If we will do it in this way, right, here we have not used this measure to, right? If we are simply going to use this, then definitely we are able to see the maximum weekly sales for the year, but for every store we can see it, right? For every store we can see it, what is the amount. So this is not the way. So if I want to cancel this store, you see, this is for year 2010, this is the maximum weekly sales that we have. So this amount is for which store? How we will go ahead and do that? So if I drag this measure to over here, you see I am able to get this. This is for store number 14. For 2011, store number 4 has performed the highest weekly sales, and for year 2012, store number 20 has performed the highest weekly sales. So this level of calculation, you will be able to do it using the TOPN function. Okay, this is the very big difference, right? If you go ahead and if you go ahead and put the store over here, it will not work. You see that it will not work. So this is one of the advantages of using the TOPN function, right? It will help you to go ahead and properly visualize this in a table, as well as it will provide you the proper value within the card as well. Okay. So this was regarding the TOPN, right? Now remember, I was just moments back I was talking about, this first measure, first non-blank, right? How we can get this this entire value, this 1453, the first non-blank value, in a different way. So it turns out we can also do it without using the first non-blank value, and we can do this easily with the help of the TOPN function too. Okay, so let us see that one as well. So what I will do, let me place this one here, this one here, this one here, and this one here. Okay. Let me create one more measure. And in this measure, I will say this is measure TOPN. Okay. And here what I will do, here I will go ahead and I will say, see, first and foremost, what we want the the first non-blank value. So let us go ahead and let us filter the table where we get all the non-blank values on the first place, right? So I will use the filter, and within the filter I will pass in the table, and here I will be using the expression is blank. So it will check whether that column has blank values or not, whether a value is blank or not. So I will pass the column value over here, correct? But this is, it will check if the value is blank or not. It will return me the table for all the blank values. I don't need that. So I will put a not operator over here, and this, what it will do, it will give me the list of all the non-blank values. Okay, now we have this table. Now on top of this, I will use the TOPN. I will get the top one value from this particular non-blank, because we want the first non-blank value. So top the first non-blank value from this entire list of non-blank values. Okay, and here I will be ordering it on the basis of the column key, correct? Because column key is my primary key. I need to order it in the basis of the column key. Okay, so on what is the ordering that I will prefer? Column key should be ordered in ascending order. It should be always in ascending order. Okay, so let us go ahead and let us sort this in ascending order. Okay, once I go ahead, this is for this. Okay, I was filter, yeah, ascending order over here. Okay, and now this is going to go ahead and return me a table. Now on top of this, what I will do, I will use the maxx function, which is an iterator function. If I use the maxx function over here, and let us go ahead and let us give the expression. So what I really need to find, I need to find out the column value from here. Okay, Okay, and now I will go ahead, I will bring out one card and I will pass this top end. And if I go ahead, let me format this to none, and this decimal place, let me make it as 0. Now if I go ahead and if I use the store, you will see it will give me all the same value, exactly the same value as the first measure, first non-blank. So both works. Okay, both of them, it works. And it is not I don't have much idea about which one works faster. Okay, I did not do much research on that one, but both of them, they work. But I would definitely prefer that to use TOPN more than first non-blank. I personally find that TOPN has more functionalities compared to first non-blank values. Okay, if you have any questions, or if you want to share your opinion on regarding this, then you can leave it in the comment section. Okay, but I personally find that TOPN is much more useful compared to the first non-blank value. Okay, and these are some of the ways how we can use this to get the first non-blank value even using the TOPN. Okay, so if you have really enjoyed this video, and if you have really liked this session, then please don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel, and please don't forget to press the bell icon for notification. Thank you.